So good morning and thank you. I'm going to talk this morning about creativity in media and how being more creative with your media can improve your return on marketing investment. So I'm going to talk about media planning and what that involves, a little bit about return on marketing investment, and then how we can actually improve it. So I thought I'd start with an introductory video to media.
This is the media department. They're where 90% of where the client's check goes. They buy space, newspapers, billboards, television, and my favorite aging whore, radio. That's the whole shakedown, actually. All you really need to know. They don't sell ideas or campaigns or jingles. They sell media at a 15% markup. Creative is just window dressing. It's thrown in for free.
Really?
And if that were true, I wouldn't need 15 minutes of your time this morning. So the role of media has changed as the role of advertising has changed. So originally, advertising was really about informing, educating, and persuading. And the role of media within that was one of message delivery. Creatives came up with a great idea, and our job was just to deliver it. But the role of advertising has changed to one of engagement. And anybody who was at last month's Toolkit, where we had a fantastic presentation by Mike, knows that what we should be doing is feeling when we're looking at advertising. And so the role of media has become one of creating and facilitating dialogue. So it's all about the interaction and it's all about the engagement. So media planning is based on a number of elements. The first is channel mix, and that's just looking at what channels you're going to use: TV, radio, press, outdoor, cinema, digital, online, and how they're all pulled together to best meet your brief. And the thing about channel mix is that each channel brings its own mix of engagement, of shareability. So the media agency's job is to kind of pull those together in the best way. The timing is looking at, again, coming back to your brief, when the campaign should run, whether it's timing sensitive, whether it's to do with a sales support or an event. Flighting then is how often a campaign runs across the year and at what weights. And I like to think of flighting as very similar to Irish rain, so it can fall like a very gentle mist and you're vaguely aware of getting wet, or it can be a torrential downpour. And so that's how we plan for that. Weight optimization then is looking at what is the best weight within each media for your campaign to run on. And some of that will come back to budget and what you can afford, and some of it is the combining of the different channels to get the best weight. And finally, effective frequency looks at how many times a campaign needs to be seen for it to be effective. There's a lot of theories about this. In TV, the number is often 3. And that comes back to the theory that the first time you see it, you think, what is it? The second time is what of it? And thereafter, it's about consideration. But effective frequency, the biggest thing in that comes back to the creative, because a strong creative doesn't need to be seen as often as a weaker creative. Another important thing within all of this is if you have a media neutral idea, that becomes very, very important, because it's very hard for a media agency to come up with a great plan and then be told, well, we don't actually have an ad for that. We can't run it on digital, or we can't run it on press because we don't have an ad for that. So to try and come up with an idea that's media neutral is really important. So basically, media planning is where science and wonder come together, or science and art come together, and in the middle you have wonder, and that's probably where you're wondering where your marketing budget is being spent. And then with return on marketing investment, there's a number of challenges around how you measure marketing investment, whether it's lead generation, is it sales, is it brand awareness. For me, the challenge comes down to chocolate. And I have a panic every time I go to the till about what I'm going to buy. Do I really want biscuit or do I want caramel? And then in my head, I start thinking, wouldn't I like something that on the outside was chocolate and underneath the chocolate is Crispies?
Catch you when you can, on the outside is chocolate, and underneath the chocolate are Crispies. Catch you when you can, beneath those Crispies you come across lots more chocolate. Catch you when you can, there's more to tell. At the center is creamy caramel. First it's crispy, then it's creamy. Crispy, creamy, munchy, creamy.
Catch it when you can.
First it's crispy,
Catch it when you can.
then it's creamy.
Catch it when you can.
First it's crispy, then it's creamy. Catch.
So how many people, show of hands, remember that ad? Thank you. Okay, thank you for not letting me be the only one. The thing with that ad is that was first aired 38 years ago, so I was too young to actually have seen it, obviously. But it means that how long do you continue to measure return on marketing investment? Because I still hear that song when I see a catch bar at the till. And maybe there's a bean counter somewhere still counting the return on investment from that campaign. But it leads us on to this lovely chart that was produced by McKinsey on marketing and sales. And basically it's looking at sales impact over a period of time. And what it says is that you get an incremental, immediate incremental effect, and that happens in the first 0 to 6 weeks after a campaign. And that's often where we tend to measure return on investment. Thereafter, there's a short-term memory effect that lasts for another bit of time. That lasts maybe 2 to 3 months. And the incremental effect typically is only responsible for 20 to 40% of your sales. But then there is the brand marketing, and that has a long-term effect of 3 to 5 years, or maybe 38 years. And that's typically responsible for 60 to 80% of your total sales. So how long you continue to measure your return on investment is important. You can't just run a campaign and measure for your 6 weeks or whatever and then drop it. We have to continue, as Dylan said, you have to run with it in order to get the brand growth that comes from brand marketing.